So in connection with this, I'm going to join two things together here. One of the other trendy things in safety right now is HOP, HOP, Human and Organizational Performance, and it actually links to HRO in a very significant way. And that's because over the years, the time axis of this chart is 40 years or 50 years or what have you. And over that time, using traditional metrics, you can instead of risk on the vertical axis here, you can put TRI and so on. You can put any metric you like. But over this long period of time, the workplace has become generally a safer place to be. When I kicked off in oil and gas in the mid-1980s, which was a terrible time to start in oil and gas, by the way. It was one of the first downturns. They had taken all the booze off the corporate jet, which was an absolute disaster as far as we were concerned. But back in those days, there was almost an expectation that at some point you'd be hurt on the job. But things have improved thanks to the efforts of organizations and the likes of Jim and OSHA and so on. The workplace risk has improved, has got lower and lower and lower, to a point now where in many organizations it's approaching this ALARP level of as low as reasonably practical. Now that doesn't mean that no one's getting hurt. It doesn't mean that nothing's getting broken. It just means that reducing the risk further is actually going to be quite tough. So it's job security for HSE people, in fact. Anyway, how have we got here? Well, there's been all sorts of improvement in plant and process and equipment and management systems and so on and so forth. Things like startup safety reviews, job safety analysis, risk assessments, and so on and so forth. The automation, guarding, machinery guarding, and so on and so on. And we've got ourselves to this situation where it's actually legitimate for folks to show up in a workplace and expect to go home every day. There are people in the workplace joining the workforce now who are walking into a context which is actually about as risk-free as it can be, practically speaking. But people still get hurt. Folks still are getting injured. Stuff still getting broken, and that's because now we're having to worry about the people who are being human in the workplace that's been provided for them. And there are now more and more data sets coming out. There was an interesting debate on LinkedIn recently trying to list all of the folks who've now decided that about 80% or in that area of unplanned events have a human performance cause associated with them, rather than a management system or an equipment or plant or things like that type cause. And here's a particular, this is lifted from the International Oil and Gas Producers Report 453, which came out last year. They looked at the incidents reported by their member companies and discovered that 80% of those incidents had a human performance. They labeled it human error, but it's essentially a human performance cause. And of those, about 3/4 were some kind of organizational weakness, and 30% of those were what might be called individual errors, which is kind of interesting because it's saying that the work context that has been designed is in most cases adequate to get the job done without anything going wrong, and yet stuff still does. So organizational weaknesses are things like undermanning, failure to provide the right equipment, equipment not working properly, and so on and so forth. And in that respect, there can be a management system, or obviously there are background causes there, but they have provoked human performance problems. And so if you're going to try and combine HRO with HOP, and I apologize for all of these acronyms. If you're going to combine trying to be high reliability, have high reliability operations within your organization, you're going to have to consider the human organizational performance stuff. So you're going to have to consider the human frailty that the folks in your business bring to the workplace just naturally.